Welcome to the American Round Table, where we keep it real and keep it tough. I'm Al Spry, and my special guest is Mel Rappleyea. Mel is, of course, a HR professional. He's also a bodyguard, security expert, and we're going to have a great conversation with Mel. We're also going to talk about current events and things that are going on around and how it affects you. This is your show, and we always appreciate when we hear from you. So happy to be here on Orlando's Tough TV 38. That's channel 38.1 on your HD channel every Sunday morning. Mel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Al. It's great to be here.
Well, let's go a little bit and talk about you and, of course, where you're from. Give us your rundown. Where are you from, and how did you get into these interesting fields?
Okay. Well, I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area. I grew up in Alexandria, Virginia. Went to school, college in Philadelphia. And I've been a human resource executive, and kind of, it's a funny story, I kind of fell back into bodyguarding part-time work, and it kind of built from there. It's doing arenas. I've done Paul McCartney, Pink, Conor McGregor, a number of different people, a bunch of different situations where I've done it at, like I said, arenas. I've done it at the celebrities' homes, but that's my part-time gig, but it's kind of a fun gig for me.
Well, how did you get into that? Because I find that type of work interesting.
Well, it's interesting. I was working for a company called Government Services Incorporated, and we actually did a lot of work at Guantanamo Bay and military bases. We worked with the CIA and the FBI, and working with these groups, I learned interrogation, I learned interviewing, and I had been a martial artist since I was 3 years old. I had been a distinguished expert in rifle. Basically, my father used to say I was like a little mercenary, and he brought me in and said, working for GSI is a great thing for you. You can do human resources, but then they kind of brought me into the security end of it, and I learned the security end, and I just kind of fell into the first person that I ever did, which was Paul McCartney. Was my first gig. Someone said Paul McCartney's looking for another bodyguard, and I ended up being one of his bodyguards.
Do you still do anything with Paul?
Only when he tours Florida.
Okay.
Only when he tours Florida.
Yeah, he's planning another tour, I think, to support his new album. He has a new album, Egypt Station, so I'm a Paul McCartney fan myself. Yeah, and how did you get involved in the martial arts? I say I'm a black belt in Kung Fu, and I say you're a black belt as well. So,
I'm Wing Chun, third-degree black
Nice.
belt. My son, it also runs in the family. My son is a third-degree black belt, Ishinru. He's two-time North Carolina state champion. I got into it when I was about 3 years old. He got into it when he was about 3 years old. I've taught women's self-defense at University of North Carolina, where I've taught abused women that have come in, generally about 10 to 30 students per class, on how to defend themselves against being molested, raped, any kind of assault like that. So I've been teaching that for years.
well, we're going to have more talk with our friend Mel right after this. In the meantime, if you want to find out more about American Roundtable and also chat with the hosts, myself and Bill Strickler, you can always go to Facebook. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/USA Roundtable. That's facebook.com/USA Roundtable. We're happy to answer your questions and talk a little bit about what we do. We bring interesting guests in, and we talk about what they do. We also kind of discuss ways of improving your life, and also we touch on some things that are happening here and abroad. This is the American Roundtable Show with our friends at Tough TV 38 here in Orlando, Florida. I'm Al Spry, and of course my special guest is Mel Rappleyea. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. So happy to have you here with us on Orlando's TV 38. American Roundtable features wonderful guests. Of course, my guest today is Mel Rappleyea. He is a bodyguard. He is an HR expert. You're a man with many talents, and I like that about you. Of course, I have a few myself. Besides being a broadcaster, I'm also a realtor here in the Orlando area. You can find out more about me at alspry.com, and I'm happy to buy, sell, or rent you a house. That's what I do as well. So it's nice to have varied interests, wouldn't you say, Mel?
Oh, absolutely.
What's your favorite thing of what you're doing with your time right now?
Well, I'm doing a lot with the lecture circuit. I'm doing a lot of public speaking on body language, that type of thing. Once in a while, I'll go back and do some bodyguard work. I did Conor McGregor's fight back in August. He's got one coming up in October. I'll be there for that one too. So once in a while I jump back into that. I'm 58, so I don't jump back into it as much as I used to in terms of bodyguarding, but when I can, I do. But the public speaking's really taken off. I do human resources. I write, as you know, several articles. I like to stay busy.
Well, let's get back a little bit to what you do with the bodyguard stuff. Who would you say is the easiest to work with of folks that you worked with in that arena?
Pink. Pink was the easiest. She had a little girl at the time, and this is a funny story, because I'm fully armed. I've got weapons. I'm in the back. I'm supposed to take Pink to the front of the stage. Her little girl's sitting there coloring, and her little girl's like, can Mel please stay? So I ended up unbuttoning my jacket, put my guns down, and I spent my bodyguard work coloring with Pink's daughter. I think easiest assignment I've ever had.
It's like Kindergarten Cop, right? That
Yeah,
movie.
absolutely.
Yes.
And every once in a while, I would take her up on the stage or toward the stage to see her mom, and then we would come back, and that was probably the easiest gig. She's extremely, extremely nice. Very, very easy to work with.
Yeah, she seems that way. I mean, that's kind of get that. She doesn't seem like she has the drama of a Justin Bieber or something like that.
No, not at all.
But you said you worked with Justin Bieber.
Worked with Justin Bieber. He was an hour late to his concert time, and we had a little trouble getting him in the harness. I have a fear of heights.
Well, what kind of harness are we talking about?
It's basically they put him in these big wings, and then they lower him from the top of the Amway Center down to the stage.
Like he's flying in?
Like he's flying in. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So he flies in on these cables that you really can't see. Pink uses the same cables. A lot of different artists use these cables now. But he's at the top of the stadium. Now, I have a fear of heights. I have to walk him up, and I'm not feeling so good. And then I have to make sure that he's strapped in correctly, and the people are there. The security safety people are there with me. And then I had to tell him, make sure you don't hold on to the handlebars, because when that thing, it's like a zip line. You go, boom, you come out of it. He didn't listen.
How badly did it end, Mel?
He was kind of doing this on stage with his hands for a little while. Yeah, it kind of hurt. You
The
can kind of tell.
the old hot hands. as
Yeah,
they say.
sometimes it's good to listen to the bodyguard.
I think it's always good to listen to your bodyguard.
Yeah,
I think-
absolutely.
I think Tupac would have wished he would have had you with him when he was in Vegas.
Absolutely.
that
I'm
day.
glad I wasn't at that day.
What about, you said you work with Taylor Swift. How's she to work with?
She was great. Her mother is fantastic. Her mother gets a really bad rap. Her mother will go up into the top stands, and all these people have, love you, Taylor, and she would go, you, and you, come with us. And then I would give them badges, and I would bring them down to the backstage so they could meet Taylor.
Yeah.
I'd also put them in the pit, right in front. She does a pit show. Not many people do pit shows
What is
anymore.
a pit show? What do you mean by that?
Everybody's standing. They have the area blocked off, and it's just basically a big standing area right in front of the stage.
Uh-huh.
So when you see the artists reach down and kind of high-five people and stuff, that's a pit area.
You don't see many people do that anymore.
No, because it's hard to control that, and people try to jump into the pit, and it's hard to control. But Taylor Swift's mother was excellent. She was like, Mel, come with me. We're going to bring this lady. We're going to bring them down to meet Taylor. So she was wonderful to work with.
She seems like a real professional person
Very
to work with. Who would you say was another nightmare to work with, though? It's more fun, to do the.
After saying this, I'll probably never work with them again. But Neon Trees.
Neon Trees. That's a
Neon
band
Trees.
that not a lot of people know of. But yeah,
Yeah.
would you say that were they like the brown M&M people with like they had the certain kind of wishes? Actually, we'll find out about Neon Trees right after this on the American Roundtable. Find out more about the American Roundtable, ART, on Facebook, facebook.com/USA Roundtable. This is the American Roundtable on Orlando's TV 38. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. ART is on Orlando's 38. Find out more about this show at facebook.com/USA Roundtable. Also, you can find out more about what I do when I'm not doing this show at alspry.com, ALSPRY.com. Do you have a website, Mel?
I have a website. It is MRHRZAR. That's MRHRCZAR.com.
So you're the czar. Now, that's like the king, right?
That's the king.
They call
King of
that in Russia.
HR.
They call that, you're the king of HR. So,
Yeah.
and that's a whole other area that I want to get to in a little bit. But first I want to talk about these neon trees. What's going on with these neon trees?
Sometimes you get a group that does not want to listen and maybe party a little hard before the concert starts.
Because they're new, they're fresh, and they're
fresh.
in that party mode, right?
And their song had just hit, and it was a big hit, and they were doing the commercial, if you remember the commercial that they were doing from the bus. So people are starting to recognize them, and when we get them on the way up, it's a lot bit different than when we get them on the way down, or if they've been there for a while.
They're more professional.
More professional. And when we tell you to go to a certain place, we're telling you for your own safety. They would not listen. They kept going in the wrong place, so people kept going in. Well, people tend to, they don't want to, but they tend to rip at you. And one of the guys completely had he had scratches from here all the way over.
You mean like a fan ripping?
Like a fan just
Or
went
like
to
they
grab.
just want to grab them.
Just wanted to grab and get a selfie or something.
This is why fame, I don't understand why people want all this fame. To me, it seems like a big drag, but you know.
Yeah. And see, we don't know when they're grabbing, if they're grabbing to hurt or hug or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have to grab the arm and I have to put the person down on the ground as quick as possible and get them away, because I don't know if
Like
they're trying to
do one of those, you know, flip them, or you know, just to get them.
Yeah, just to get them off the person really quick. And a lot of times I'll be real polite about it, and I'll say, you can't touch, and they'll be like, okay, like that. So it's no big deal. It's when the fans had a little bit of chemical or chemistry added to them that it gets hard to
Control.
Yes.
Yeah. So did they start listening to you after the grabbage?
Most of the time. Well, I've done the Warp Tour and I've done the Earth Day Birthday.
Okay.
The mosh pit's the hardest, because they actually sometimes I've had a guy pull a knife on me in the mosh pit before.
My goodness. What do
Yeah.
you do there? Just got to take it out, take them down.
I got stabbed.
Wow.
Yeah, I got stabbed.
Got stabbed.
I got stabbed. Yeah. Well, he got
Goodness.
jail
He got
time.
worse.
He got jail time. All I got was a cut.
My goodness.
Yeah, those are hard to do because of the mosh pits and the outdoor.
It's almost like a real anarchic kind of environment.
Oh yeah,
Right?
and
You know,
they tend to like police themselves for the most part, but every so often you get somebody that's in modern chemistry and they are not easy to handle.
What about KISS? You worked with KISS?
Work with KISS, they are fantastic to work with.
Because they're old pros, right?
Very old pros.
They've gotten past all that initial glory, things going, you know.
Absolutely. And they know us by first name. They'll come up and they'll say, hey, Mel, you know, I want to go over here. I want to go over there. They listen. They'll tell you what their path is and where they're going. They just don't jump off the stage. When somebody jumps off the stage, that's what makes it hard for us, because we, you know, that's hard to control.
Well, they don't want to break something, you know.
Yeah. Oh,
They're
it's funny.
getting up there a little bit, you know.
I actually helped Mark Anthony down from the stage one time, and I swear he must weigh about 80 pounds, because I picked him up.
He's
and
a
I
little
just-
guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like, I can throw you. But some of them I can't pick up so easy. Won't say the names of those people.
So you enjoy that, of course, and then there's another aspect which we're going to get into in the next segment about what you do with, like, you did some interrogation work,
Yeah,
but you're also a human resource czar. So tell me what that's like.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, because people always think of a human resource person as being really soft. I always tell people during the day I'm a very nice, kind person, and at night I beat people up as a bodyguard. So I control both sides of my personality.
You got the Dr. Jekyll and the Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
you know.
I got to feed all my personalities like Sybil.
Yeah.
But basically, I got into HR. That was my college degree was in. I've been in human resources with Eastman Kodak, with TJX. I've been with some large companies. I've been with some startups, movies, which is now known as Netflix. When we started movies, we merged.
So it was
with
called
Netflix.
Movies before it was Netflix. Okay.
Well, Netflix merged with us, and they took the Netflix name. But at the time, we were both the same size.
Gotcha.
And that was interesting, because we went from 500 or 600 brick and mortar stores to basically what you now know as Netflix and ordering movies online.
Yeah, it's a big development.
Yeah, it started with 20 employees, and then we went up to about 10,000 employees when we merged with Netflix.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, always a great chat. Let's have a few more final thoughts with our friend Mel Rappleyea, and he is the HR czar, MrHRczar.com. Yeah.
Yep, MrHRZR.com.
All right,
That's it.
we'll be right back on the American Roundtable. Welcome back to the American Roundtable, ART on Orlando's Channel 38. Love being on this station, great programming, and we really like bringing you some interesting guests, including my guest today. It's Mel Rappleyea. Of course, Mel is an HR rep. He's also a bodyguard, so you get the soft side of Mel in the daytime, like you said, and the harder Mel at night.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the biggest challenge in HR today? It's, of course, things have changed. The way that business is done has changed. What would you say that the biggest change you've seen is?
The really hard change has been the applicant tracking system, or the ATS, because a lot of recruiters have gotten very soft and very lazy, and they use the ATS. When you send your resume in, it goes into basically a computer, and it spits out who's good and who's not good.
So
based on what
there's
you
no, it takes the human decision element pretty much
Completely.
out of it, right?
And the hard thing is, like, when you have somebody that's worked in the military that's maybe transferred, 2 years here, 2 years there, 3 years there, it counts up the number of jobs. Like, in my position where I've done 1099 work, it may kick me out because it looks like I've had 4 or 5 jobs when actually some of my stuff is 1099 work.
Oh.
And it's really taken that out. And
So it needs you to need. So when you apply for jobs, that's a good tip. You put less jobs in your resume. Is that?
Put less in, but you're going to have to fill it up, but put keywords in. It's not so much about what you've done. It's almost like if you think about like you're doing a website. So if you put HR in there about 400 times, it's going to pick it up more than if I put HR once. Even if I've done all these beautiful things in HR, if I don't have the word human resources in there, it's not going to find me because he's going to do a Boolean search based on HR. It's going to come up. The guy that puts 400 times HR is going to come up before me, even though I've been in HR for 30 years.
Right, and he might have only been in HR for a couple years.
Yeah, but he set it up perfectly in terms of the search.
So I want to delve into this a little bit more. So you're applying for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you use the terms that they're looking for a lot.
Absolutely.
Make sure that you fill it up, but don't put too many transfers because they're going to think you transfer jobs a lot. You won't stick there long.
Yeah, go the last 10 years. Don't need to go beyond 10 years.
What about any other advice?
Oh, you really should not put lines in because a lot of the applicant tracking systems don't read lines well. And
You mean like borders and stuff?
Borders and
that
things
used to
like
be
that.
a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now when it goes into a computer system, it reads it as jargon and gibberish. So your first word is usually your name. So when you go to do an autofill on some of these resumes, you'll notice, why is my name not going in there? It's because you have a border.
Because you have a border. So you end up with blah, 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 and then your name or something. It's just it's kind of messes it up.
Save the pretty resume for when you meet the person and you hand it to them. Give them the ugly
So
resume online.
So have a computer version,
Yes.
scanning version, and have a nice version on a nice paper that you can
That's
hand.
it. Absolutely.
See, we're learning things here.
There you go.
What else would you recommend for the interview? What would you recommend, some tips when you actually come in to interview? Let's say you get through the process.
Research the company. Nothing frustrates me worse than I go, "What do you know what we do?" And they're like, "No." "Have you been on the website?" "No." Why would you want to come work for somebody if you don't know what they do?
Is that pretty much just you kick them right? They're done. When you hear that, you're like, this is not someone who's going to really be present in the job, and be able to do the work.
Show an interest in the job. If you're not going to show an interest in doing research, you're not probably going to do a good job.
Right. You're
find out.
lacking basic skills, which is a research skills. In real estate, there's a lot of research because you have to find the right thing for people. But in many jobs, there's always research. So find out where you want to work. Heck, you might go in and find out where you want to work and go, boy, I really don't want to work there. It's possible. And so that's something to really be aware of. That's a very good tip. You were in the Adams Job Bank series, but I've actually used those Adams books. They're actually very, very good.
Yeah, since
so
1985.
How has things changed since, because you wrote the Electronic Job Search 2000, of course, we're 18 years in.
Yeah.
How do you think it's changed since then?
Quite a bit. Most of it's like banking, where a lot of the job banks have bought the other job boards, and you've got Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, Simply Hired, Indeed. You don't have as many, which is kind of sad. And they all fish off each other. They all bring in their other ads from other companies. So you're seeing the same thing all the time. You're like, well, I just saw this on Monster. I just saw this on Career Builder, because they all hook and pull each other's stuff in. It's really bad. It was a lot better when there was more services, more like Career Mosaic and Orlando Jobs and all these different ones. Now you've got maybe 5 big ones and a bunch of little tiny ones, and all those little tiny ones are really owned by the big ones. So it's really difficult on job boards.
It's difficult, but if you get it right, you're in better shape because you don't have to hit all these little job boards, then you're saying, right?
Yeah, you hit the big ones and it all gets taken in.
You're kind of taken in.
But be aware, when you put your resume on there, like in Indeed, I can search right now and see who's put a resume on there. It'll tell me who you are. So if you have a job currently, don't put your name on your resume to Indeed, because I now know that you're looking for a job. And a lot of companies, what they will do is...
Do people do that?
Absolutely.
So they go fishing while they're still working, and then all the employer has to do is put their name in.
Yeah. All they have to do is put what I did one, I was showing my recruiters how to do this. I put the name Eclipse in there because I was working for Eclipse Advantage at the time. It showed me everybody from Eclipse Advantage who was looking for a job who would put their resume in. We had just done a layoff, and I wanted to see if that affected the number of people, because usually when you do a layoff, you have another shoe drops and you have other people leave
Right.
when you do that.
Right.
So I wanted to see how many. Well, there was, quite a few. And I showed the CEO and I said, this is why we don't do levels of layoffs, because you have people out there. And he goes, oh my God, you can see everybody's resume. And I go, yeah, don't ever put your name on your resume.
And some final thoughts, Mel, on a different subject. Tell me about how it was to be a interrogator for the FBI and CIA and other organizations.
Well, it's kind of neat. It goes back to GSI days when government services, because we did FBI, CIA, we did DOD. And basically, I was trained by them on how to do interrogation, how to do body language, how to tell if somebody's lying, how to see if somebody like rubs their nose, or the frown line.
What's the frown line? What's that mean?
I can say something new. Most people can, especially politicians, can disguise a lie pretty good. But that little blurb that comes in.
When they do this
little thing right here, it's like a little bar that comes in. Some people don't have it. But if I say something to you that you think is totally off the wall and that comes up, I can key on that to say, oh, well, the thing he didn't buy it, or he thinks that's BS. But with that little line, that little line that goes like this, and it's really quick.
I noticed you've been looking between my eyes. Now I know why.
Well, you got the glasses on, so just push them back.
Maybe it's good I have the glasses, right?
Yeah.
See, and I was going to get contacts. It's probably not a good idea now. See, you taught me something.
Yeah, this is why politicians get Botox, so their face doesn't move.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it was because they're just vain.
Both.
No. All right. Well, Mel Rappleyea, and you are a very fascinating guy, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. Thank you so much, and of course, we'll have you back on again. I think this is you hit on some interesting topics that I think people are need to be aware of. And if you want to find out more about Mel, one more time, Mel.
It's MRHRCZAR.com.
All right, Mel Rappleyea, thank you so much. I'm Al Spry. This is the American Roundtable. Find out more about ART at Facebook.com/USA Roundtable. That's Facebook.com/USA Roundtable. Remember to keep it real and keep it tough.